Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Olympian Mind and Body, I'm speaking to my good friend Michael Del Russi. Greetings, Michael. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm thrilled to be with everyone.
And I'm thrilled that you're here as well. Now, I posted, I don't know if you got to see it on Facebook on my page, a thank you to you for all the research that you've done, all the information that you've shared, and for your work in your ministry with the white light. So I don't know if you've seen it or not, but thank you so very much. I greatly appreciate it, and I think it was time to share my appreciation with everybody.
I did see it, and I was very honored to receive that accolade. And my enthusiasm is at a level where I just want to continue to share as much as I can, as frequently as I can, because there's always new information, new studies, and quite frankly, some new breakthroughs, which I would love to share with the listeners, whether it concerns their overall vitality, their health, and of course, their capacity of mind to move forward and perhaps utilize techniques and methods that haven't been too readily available in terms of overall useful message, if you will, useful messages, and moving their lives forward in a very positive way. So do have a lot to share down the road here, and I'm just excited to be here and have the opportunity to do that. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, you're very welcome, and I'm glad that we're on this adventure together, and I look forward to continuing for a very long time. Before we start, you always have a lot to share, and you've researched it. But I want to remind people that neither Michael nor myself are physicians, nor are we traditional health care professionals, but we have for our entire lives been focused on optimal wellness and our general health. And so we're sharing what we found on our own unique journeys, what worked, what didn't work, what we believe, what we don't believe anymore, what we've come to believe, and we share it with you openly so that you can add to the scope of your own explorations. And we suggest that you research these things for yourself, and that you speak to qualified medical professionals before you're contemplating anything that goes beyond the ken of modern medicine. So with that said,
Uh,
what have you got for us, Michael?
uh, well, that was very well said,
Thank
and
you.
I think you made the point beautifully. And I think the exciting aspect of this journey is the research.
Hmm.
We're not doctors, we're not physicians. We do, however, have the time to do what many, not everyone can do, and that is devote our minutes and hours to digging deep into the latest studies in terms of healing, motivation, mind power, and some arcane sciences that I feel, and I'm sure you feel the same way, can enhance the spirit of everyone exposed to it. So I'm just thrilled. Research is a never ending field of enlightenment, no matter what it is. The ability to research, the ability to open the channels of our minds. And I think here at Olympian Mind and Body, as you so beautifully described it, I think we feel now more than ever it's important to not only to address the physical world around us with the spirit of champions, but also to look beyond into the land of creative thought, a
Hmm.
place where Olympian creativity resides, and the gods themselves are continually providing us with unlimited cosmic fields of imagination. And I think those cosmic fields are, quite frankly, what the great sages tried to bring to us in many different forms. From there, we can form new concepts that we might find nowhere else, and that's what makes this journey so worthwhile in both mind and body. So let us walk the Olympian path together. And that's hopefully what we can do in each and every session. So I'm glad to be here. You described our journey exactly as it is, and it's never ending. And there's always a new surprise, and there's new food for thought around every virtual corner. So
And
that's what this.
exciting.
Yes, that's what makes this exciting. And I just hope that the listeners that are present and the listeners to come will get as much out of it as we have over the years. The two aspects I wanted to start off with that I think are very worthwhile and noted are two foodstuffs that I think are showing great promise in terms of overall healing, especially in the area of hormone health, and that is broccoli and Brussels sprouts. Recently, broccoli has become a superstar of the vegetable world because it contains many compounds with important disease-fighting properties. So I'm going to read to you the latest research. Researchers H. Leon Bradlow, PhD, and John Makowitz is an MD and a PhD of the Institute for Hormone Research in New York, discovered that indoles, and I've read about indoles multiple times in the past and their potential. Indoles, compounds found in cruciferous vegetables, which include broccoli, cabbage, kale, may be potential weapons against cancer. Indoles inactivate potent estrogens that can promote the growth of tumors and estrogen-sensitive cells, particularly those in the breast. A research team at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine discovered a compound in broccoli called sulforaphanes. Sulforaphanes are showing a lot of promise, both in stimulating T-cell response and hormone balance, that stimulate animal and human cells to produce cancer-fighting enzymes. Sulforaphane has also been found in kale, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, carrots, and green onions. Broccoli is also rich in beta-carotene, another well-known cancer fighter, as well as other essential vitamins and minerals. One broccoli spear contains about half the RDA for beta-carotene, more than twice the RDA for vitamin C, a hefty portion of potassium, and a fair amount of calcium, folic acid, and selenium. It is also a good source of fiber. That's quite a lot, to say the least. And the possible benefits up to this point, as the research continues, indoles and sulforaphanes may protect against various forms of cancer. Beta-carotene is an antioxidant that protects the cell membrane against damage caused by free radicals. Oxidative damage is believed to be a factor in both cancer and heart disease. Vitamin C is an antioxidant, as we know, that protects against oxidative damage. It also helps the immune system fight against infection. Potassium is essential for normal fluid balance in the cells. It also helps normalize heart function and blood pressure. Yes, potassium can lower blood pressure. Both calcium and folic acid protect against various forms of cancer. Selenium protects against stroke and certain cardiovascular diseases, as well as free radical activity. So we have broccoli, we have cabbage, and Brussels sprouts.
Is cauliflower included there? Because on some lists on this topic, I've seen cauliflower also included.
Yes, that is in there, and that's in the research. I think I did mention it. Yes, it is cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, carrots, and green onions. All carry these powerful nutrients within them, and I know sulforaphane can be acquired in a supplement form, and it has shown great promise. So they're phytonutrients, and I think everyone should take a close look at adding one or more of these foods to their diet on a regular basis. I have a special favor for broccoli, in particular, Brussels sprouts, if cooked the right way, and there's a variety of ways to cook them, can also be very beneficial. And that's what we're going to look at next, because there's some new research on those. I know Brussels sprouts aren't for everybody in terms of taste, but I think they're very good. They can be cooked in a variety of ways, even in pan-fried very gently in olive oil. Of course, you can steam them, but you can take a look at these little cabbages, and that's what they look like. They're very big on nutrition. Yeah, they do. They look just like cabbages, as a matter of fact. Like other members of the cruciferous family, such as broccoli and kale, Brussels sprouts contain a vital arsenal of cancer-fighting compounds such as indoles. They're very powerful. Chemicals that deactivate potent estrogens that can trigger tumor growth in estrogen-sensitive cells. This has been shown in various laboratory studies, as a matter of fact, throughout the country in terms of hormone-driven cancers in women, especially. Prostate cancer has also been shown to respond to endoles and sulforaphanes. Brussels sprouts contain an amazing 7.5 grams of fiber per cup, making it one of the best vegetable sources of fiber. This vegetable is also packed with important vitamins, vitamin A in particular, and beta carotene, as well as potassium. It's 150% of the RDA for vitamin C and more than 10% of the RDA for iron and vitamin E. Sulforaphanes helps the body rally its defenses against carcinogens. Indoles may also help to reduce developing inflammation and normalize wayward cells, something that IP6 also appears to do, by the way. The high fiber content helps maintain bowel regularity and protects against inflammation in gastrointestinal tract. All antioxidants, vitamin C, E, and beta carotene, protect against these diseases and also protect the cardiovascular system and arteries against inflammation and rigidity. And one of the problems, and sometimes it doesn't always show up in our cardiovascular workups, is that as we get older, and it happens to all of us, notwithstanding what diet we're on, the inside our arteries become rigid, much like you would, if you were cutting up an apple or cutting it sideways, as an example. And this rigidity just normally manifests itself. It comes with the territory, as one physician recently said to me. So no matter how healthy you believe you're eating, your arteries will eventually, over time, develop some rigidity. And antioxidants go a long way to slowing that process down. That's one of the reasons why antioxidants are so very beneficial. I think many individuals don't realize the full spectrum of what they do for us, besides, of course, producing T cell and B cell production and enhancing the immune response in the body. Most of the time, our T cells especially take care of business. They really do take care of business, but we can always use a little help in that area. And food is essential, no question. But I think certain supplements can also move that process along in a very beneficial way. So those are the two phytonutrients I wanted to cover this evening: indoles and sulforaphanes. I know that sulforaphanes are available as a supplement, and of course they can also be acquired through some of the foods we just discussed: cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli. They are, on some level, they are also contained in carrots, red peppers. So I think that's a pretty healthy landscape of eating, if you will. And so I think everybody should consider, if you're not consuming those vegetables on a regular basis, you might want to consider adding them to your program.
How often do you recommend? Do you recommend a few times a week, daily? What do you think the best?
I, I, I think if possible, I would say at least 3 times a week if possible.
Okay.
You know, and if candidly, sometimes we're not. Or I personally, because I don't have the patience to go cutting that, so I buy the frozen. I usually get the frozen broccoli, frozen Brussels sprouts, and I find them to be, more than enjoyable. And that would be the best way. So I would recommend at least 2 to 3 times a week. The interesting thing about these, and I've read studies on this in this area many years ago, as a matter of fact, and it appears, based on the studies I've just shared with you, that it's still true. Uh, Sulforaphane seem to have a real potential in terms of balancing the hormones in the body, and that can be a great benefit in terms of preventing disease. We know as we get older, our hormone balance changes, not always for the better, I'm afraid. So I think anything to get balance our hormones and at the same time prevent free radical activity is a foodstuff we should definitely look at. So yeah, I would say if you can add broccoli as an example, I'll use broccoli as an example, at least twice a week to your diet. I think you're going a long way to benefiting your overall internal, workings, if you will. So yeah, I think they're very, very valuable foods to be consuming on a regular basis. And this, by the way, this research is just confirming something that I have read, other studies I've read, like, my God, I think it must be 15 years ago. Studies way back then showed the same thing, that these two substances seem to be very effective in creating the right environment cellular-wise in the body in terms of hormone balance. Two other phytonutrients in that category that people may want to consider is something called genistein is one, and sulforaphanes, of course, is the other one. Genistein is a substance found in soy.
Hmm.
And the interesting thing about genistein, also, if you have a penchant for consuming soy products, is that also has shown very, very encouraging promise in terms of hormone-driven diseases. It seems to balance the hormones, especially women seem to benefit greatly adding genistein to their diet. Genistein seems to balance the various estrogens in the body. So you might want to make a note of that. Those who are listening to explore genistein, sulforaphanes, indoles. These are all indoles. These are all part of the phytochemical family, if you will, and they're very potent, very potent. So I
How would
wanted to
they
share
affect,
that.
how
See,
would they affect men?
well, because they balance what they do for women, they also do for men. So sulforaphanes and genistein, in particular, that's genistein there for men, have been shown to balance the hormones in men. Especially as an example, that could be very beneficial in terms of prostate enlargement.
Okay.
And women, we've seen definite noticeable changes in terms of breast cells and estrogen content in the body. It's been very impressive over the years, and again, this is the news that unfortunately is not more widely known, and that's why I want to make sure that everybody get a pencil out and just write these nutrients down and do your own research, of course, because I think they could be very valuable. But it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. It's the balancing the hormones in the body. We men, of course, we have our challenges, if you will, in terms of keeping a more careful watch in terms of prostate enlargement. As we get older, DHT tends to, which is a substrate, if you will, of testosterone, it seems to become more prevalent in the body. And DHT is a hormone you want to keep at bay, if you will. The lower your DHT, the healthier your prostate is over a period of time. And sulforaphane, indoles, then going further down the line as far as men, we have, of course, saw palmetto standardized extract, which every man should be taking on a regular basis as we get older, especially. Pygium is an herb from India. Pygium also lowers DHT in the body, which in turn can help to lower your PSA level. And all of us should at least have our PSA checked once a year. So these are some of the substances. For men, it's saw palmetto, pygium, beta-sitosterol. For women and men, it's sulforaphanes and indoles. And for women, men as well, might want to explore genistein in that family of powerful natural healers. All of these things can be very beneficial in terms of keeping us healthy and enhancing our vitality as we get older. And consumed on a regular basis, it can give us a little bit less to worry about in terms of our overall maintaining our overall good health. So I would recommend all of those things.
Wow. There's a lot there to digest and apply.
Yeah, and anyone who wants a reminder, wants to know more about it, they can always write to me, or if it's easier, they could call me at my phone number. I'll gladly give my phone number out, which is 862-438-0605. 862-438-0605. Anyone who wants to talk about these, the potential of these nutrients to enhance our well-being, I would be glad to share information with them any way I can. But everybody should know about these things. And again, it's no slight on the medical community, but most of our physicians today, unless they're really delving into functional medicine or natural healing, probably have a cursory knowledge of these things at best, if that. I would venture to say, and I've had this experience when I've shared my 20 years of research concerning IP6 and modified citrus pectin, that most doctors just don't know about these things. It's no slight on their part, is they just don't know. They don't delve into these areas. Fortunately, there are those of us out there that do, and we can share this information, which can, in many cases, can be invaluable in adding these supplements and or foods to our diet. So, I think all of these things are important to keep in mind. But if anybody wants to know, wants a reminder, they can always call me, and we can talk about these things. I'll be happy to share these forever breaking this research constantly. There's always something new. I'll be happy to share it with them.
How did you, because again, you've been helping people with this information for as long as I've known you, and I'm sure a lot longer. And you're also sharing information on the paranormal, especially in the form of UFOs. What first inspired you to share your journey with others? Because that's been a constant throughout your life, and you're very dedicated to it.
Well, I think now at this point, especially with the news that's forever breaking, we're always learning something new. in terms of diet and longevity. We're always learning something new. And as you and I have always shared over the years, what we thought was true 15 or 20 years ago may no longer be true today in terms of what does and does not enhance our overall health. I personally, I have to credit my dad as far as my interest in nutritional therapy. My father was I'm very proud of my father. He was a good man, a very quiet, demure man, a very shy man. I took after him in many ways. But he always talked about nutrition, and he always had a bottle of vitamin C in the medicine cabinet. And I talked to him about it on several occasions. And he would tell me, what he learned I'm going back to the early middle 60s now. So I'm going back a lot of years, to say the least. But he used to watch Dr. Carlton Fredericks on TV.
I remember.
Do you remember him?
Yeah.
And Adele Davis. Do you remember Adele Davis?
Adele Davis, more faintly, but yes.
Yeah, Adele Davis, Dr. Carlton Fredericks. Earl Mendel. I don't know I think he's still around somewhere. But these were the real groundbreakers, the pioneers. And he used to watch Dr. Carlton Fredericks Saturday mornings. Sometimes we'd watch him together. And my father always, I don't know where, his father never had a keen interest in natural healing. But somehow my father picked these interests, these areas of interest up, even as far as UFOs, the metaphysical, the search for Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster. I remember all of this material he would bring home. And I have to credit my dad for really inspiring us to seek the mysterious, if you will. Seek out the secrets that were just lying there waiting to be uncovered. Mothman is another one. I remember him bringing home a paperback book on the Mothman by, I think it was John Keel, was it not?
John Keel, yes, I knew John Keel. I used
Did
to
you?
just Portean Society meetings in Manhattan, and I crossed paths there with Tim Beckley. And that's a relationship that got rekindled years later when I started reviewing his movies and his books. And still, a lot of people in our UFO Entity Enigma show, which has been going on for years, are Tim Beckley graduates.
So you met John Keel personally then?
Yes, I met John Keel. John Keel used to have meetings much like I'm having now, except on a much bigger scale. And he used to have different people come over, and some of the people were just, civilians who had some experiences, and others were investigators or researchers. And everyone has things they dream of as a child, and you're very blessed if you can actually do those things. Like I worked with and for the Charles Atlas Company for years, so that was a big dream accomplished. And I also got published in Tim Beckley's books. I've been published in around a couple of dozen of them.
Wow.
My dream was as a kid to become an investigator and an author, to write about my experiences in these lurid paperbacks with cheesy covers. And so that happened. So
that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So I've taken
that is wonderful.
My mission to these guys that are still around who are currently carrying the torch for Tim Beckley and Hans Holzer and Brad Steiger and Madame Blavatsky, the guys that are doing that still. We call ourselves torchbearers, and we have shows where we share what we're doing, what we publish, what we're investigating. And you're a torchbearer yourself. You're more than welcome to attend those. I can add you to those lists as well.
Well, thank goodness that we have you, because unfortunately, many of them have passed on. As a matter of fact, speaking of that, we lost a great UFO investigator. I think it was yesterday. It may have been today or yesterday. I forget which, but anyway, Nick Pope. I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yes, I've interviewed Nick Pope years ago. I
He
saw.
passed away.
Oh, that is sad. Eric Von Daniken passed away not too long ago, also.
Yes, I know. He just passed away. I think it was yesterday. And he was from England, and I used to love to hear him talk because he just had a way of telling a story or describing an incident that it held your attention. You know, you
Hmm.
wanted to listen to him. And we have lost Nick Pope now, and yeah, we're losing the great ones, unfortunately. So we need torchbearers to
Yes,
get not only to keep the seekers and those who listen to us are indeed seekers abreast of what's happening, but also to look to the future in terms of carrying that torch forward and keeping it burning, keeping the light alive, if you will,
right.
because the mysteries that we have been exploring for so many decades in our lives, a lot of that work is coming to fruition now in a very haphazard and roundabout way in terms of what the governments will and will not reveal. But nevertheless, uh, it's all been worth it. It's all been worth it. I mean, there was a time when you discussed UFOs or flying saucers, and you get you would be dismissed for the most part. And
Right.
I could say, growing up, uh, I had my peers laugh at me, and I would talk about these mysteries sometimes in school. Needless to say, you can imagine, uh, I wasn't greeted with a great fanfare, if you will. But nobody's laughing now.
No.
Nobody's laughing now. I think most people are accepting the reality that they are real, they are here, they're beyond our ability to define or explain. Uh, and they're varied in size, shape, scope, performance, you name it. Pilots have seen just these little round globes, silver globes. There's no, there's no exhaust. There's no evidence of any propulsion that we're aware of. Silver. These are recent sightings, by the way.
Hmm.
Silver globes zipping through the air, performing incredible maneuvers. And how do you explain this? How can anybody within the realm of our physics, any physics as we know it, explain what these things are? I mean, there's no windows, there's no doors, there's no sign of propulsion as we know it. So something remarkable is happening, but you know what? It's been happening for decades.
Hmm.
It's been dismissed in any number of ways, but nobody's really dismissing the possibilities now. If you've noticed, even most governments are no longer putting a cap on the ideas, the potentials, the concepts of what these things might be. Nobody's denying anything now. They may not be admitting to it the way we'd like to. It's still hanging in the air, but I think that it's just that we're on the edge. We're on the edge of discovery. We're on, as the movie says, and I haven't seen it yet. We're on the edge of disclosure. I think the time has come, and sooner or later, I don't know how it's going to happen. Uh, but I think an official announcement will come. It's practically here for all intents and purposes. From what I've been reading, it's practically here. It's just not. We're right on the fringe. So it's exciting. I know I had my own experience back in 1975 as far as a UFO sighting, a genuine UFO sighting, and it's something I'll never forget. And it's interesting when you see something you witness something is simply beyond the realm of anything you've been familiar with, you never forget it. And I can sit down even today and draw a sketch in 1 minute of exactly what I saw that night in 1975 on the highway. And it was just as clear to me now as it was then. So when you know you're seeing something unusual, notwithstanding what the naysayers might say, well, it could have been this, it could have been that, you know what you're looking at. Most people aren't that ignorant. They know what they're looking at. And I know what I saw that night, and it's something I'll never forget. So they're here. They're here, and they've been here. It's just a matter of an official announcement, I think, coming from somewhere.
Oh, even in antiquity, in Greek lore, there's in the Homeric hymn to Ares, it talks about how Ares flies his celestial chariot through the sky. So,
Hmm.
although Van Daniken popularized the chariots of the gods, they existed in mythology for thousands of years before.
Well, absolutely. And I'll never forget, I could still experience the same feeling that both my brother and I, rest in peace, when that book came out. Because I remember when it came out on both television and radio, they were talking about how the Catholic Church, denounced the book. They felt as though it was, anti-religious. It was spiritually not accepted, more or less, and the entire concept. But I remember the waves it made. I think it was 1968, when the book was first released. I'm pretty sure it was 68. And I remember there was a great deal of conversation, to say the
Yes.
least, over its message. And we all ran out to get a copy. And once we delved into it, we were amazed. We were amazed because the evidence, no matter what anyone may try to say, I mean, the evidence, it was hiding in plain sight, if you will. That was what's really amazing about Von Daniken's work. And later, others came later, of course. The fact that he revealed all of these ancient artifacts, sculptors, as far as sculptors and paintings, and cave drawings, all hiding in plain sight. And when you looked at it from the perspective of 20th century technology, you're suddenly seeing something that you could hardly believe. And in some cases, it really does take your breath away.
Yes,
And
it
later
does.
on,
They had you're looking at what are clearly airplanes in your eyes, and back when they were first discovered, there were no airplanes, so they were called insects or birds and that they were stylized instead of being literal representations. And there was a Greek sculpture that
mhm,
was said she was carrying a makeup case. But now, if you look at it, it looks exactly like a laptop computer with a USB port. So,
absolutely remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And recently, maybe not so recently, but after Von Daniken's work, there was and I don't have a copy of it, but I read about it. There was I think it was a woman, an Italian author. She put together a large volume, and then next time we meet, I will try to get this is not the only book, but it's one of premier books of UFO depictions in biblical art.
right.
And you go on the internet, and you're absolutely amazed in that area, because painters, artists from the 15th, 17th century, paintings on church ceilings, paintings in various areas of religious worship and what have you, and you're seeing what only you can only interpret to be 20th century spacecraft of some kind, egg-shaped crafts with little pilots and
Yes.
right above the crucifixion, and some very very famous, and even the Virgin Mother is in one or two of these paintings, and there you are, up above her head in the atmosphere is an object that is clearly disc-shaped or egg-shaped with a little pilot within, gearing the gearing the craft, whatever it might be. But they're clearly not angels. They're certainly not angels. They're not demons or anything like that. They're not gods. They clearly resemble artificial craft of some kind, and
Right.
this is quite common in much of the biblical art that we're presently looking at and examining. So, and you have to ask yourself this question: what did these artists know? What did they know? This just didn't come out of thin air. They knew something. Some information was shared with them for them to depict the crucifixion of the Christ, the Virgin Mother, and clearly within their space are crafts that are artificial, appear to be artificial in nature, and again, it's clearly resemble what we would interpret to be 20th to 21st century spacecraft interpretations. So, I mean, that's remarkable, and I find it intriguing because I would like to know what did these artists, what did they know, and who shared this information with them? That's very curious. What inspired them to be so detailed and recreate these spacecraft here in biblical times? What did they know? It's when you ponder that for a while, it just leaves you breathless because they knew something. Some information was shared with them. What did they know? I mean, obviously they weren't there. We're talking about 15th and 17th century artists. So what did they know? Somebody shared some remarkable information with them as far as what was going on during biblical times.
And maybe they had access to books that no longer exist.
Well, that's a strong possibility. For as you probably know, and I've heard these rumors myself. I don't have any material on it, but for decades and decades, there's been a rumor that the Catholic Church knows more about alien visitation than they're telling. That somewhere within the libraries of the Vatican are the secrets to extraterrestrial visitation and contact. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised that, I'm sure you heard about it yourself, that's a rumor that's been going on for, my God, decades. And I believe that's factual. I believe there's something to it.
And they've come out and said that they believe that there's life on other planets, and they would be open to dialoguing with beings from other planets and introducing them to their religion or to see what type of religion that they have. And they speculated some of these people that it might be very similar our religions, and that's borne out by many contacts where the aliens seem to know a lot about our different religions and philosophies.
I had heard that. I had heard that rumor, and I, in fact, I don't know. Was it maybe Pope Paul, or maybe it might have been after him? But yes, they did make an official announcement concerning the possibility of life on other worlds, and they certainly didn't back away from it. They acknowledged the possibility of it, which was remarkable. So it's something to take seriously. We're right on the brink, as I said. We're right on the brink, and I think I'm starting to become more and more convinced. And I'd like to know what your opinion is on this. I dismissed this theory at first in my early UFO years, but I've changed my mind a bit. I think there's a multidimensional aspect to their visitations and their existence, based on what we've been hearing lately. especially some of the sightings and that we can't explain. This incident that happened at the Miami Mall last year, where there was a near riot. In fact, I've seen they've recreated some scenes of that on the internet recently. You can get it if you type it in. I've never ever in my lifetime seen so many police cars in one area. There were, I mean, it went rows and rows and rows of police cars, and images were captured on cell phones. They're very faint, almost translucent. Or you could see through them, but images were captured by a few individuals with their cell phones. Evidently, they managed to do it, and the images are you can see right through them. But supposedly, these are what these teenagers saw, and there was a near riot. It took place last year, I believe. Yeah, and you can see this, and the police presence was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. The official story was when the police account was that it was some teenagers wielding sticks and causing mayhem. But the witnesses there, who were also mostly young people, said that's simply not true. They saw these tall, lanky, gray beings. They were like gray, but also you could see through them. They were like transparent, if you will, and that and they seemed to come out of nowhere. They seemed to just come out of thin air. So this mystery, by the way, has not been solved. And the police account has been disputed by every witness that was there in the mall that night, that evening. So that's simply not the case. There were no kids with sticks. And if you look it up, you can look it up, the aliens in the Miami Mall, you can punch somebody, and you will see the police presence was like nothing I've ever seen. Rows and rows and rows. I thought it would never end. The police presence that was there that evening. So,
Wow.
something unusual happened. Again, I think there was a cover-up, unfortunately. And, one of the more amazing cases in recent times that still has not been explained. Of course, the explanation they're giving is ridiculous based on eyewitness accounts. So, but there were images captured very faintly on cell phones. A couple of the young people did manage to capture it, and they were there, but they were semi-invisible. So they were very faint, and they certainly didn't look human. Whatever they were, they didn't resemble humans as we know it. So, just another case to ponder, if you will.
Yes, whatever the case, in actuality, the UFOs and the contactee literature, which is vast, have contributed to our present mythologies and have increased our understanding of the cosmos. So it's a very exciting time to live, even just looking at that. And there's so much more to look at aside from that.
Oh yes, and whether we want to call them portals or wormholes, whatever the case might be, I've taken another view, if you will. I've taken another look at the multidimensional possibilities of the mysteries that we've been discussing for so many years and researching ourselves, because I think within the confines, not that they are confined, within the confines of the space that we occupy, there may be another area of existence right here. There may be doorways right here.
Yes, I believe
where
that.
where we're sitting at this very moment. And I think it's just a matter of vibrational frequency, as some of the great researchers like Tesla and others have pointed out. That it's a matter of getting our minds to reach a certain vibrational frequency, so someday we can call these mysteries into existence ourselves by reaching the right vibrational frequency, we may be able to call these creatures, these individuals, whatever they are, into existence, might even be able to communicate with them. I've always believed that communicating with the afterlife is just a stone's throw away for all of us. Unfortunately, some of us are able to open up the channels of our consciousness easier than others. So it's an individual journey, but those who can do it, yeah, it's the doorway is right here. I really believe that.
I spent 5 years of my life being a deep trance medium, or channeler as they're called now, for a group in Manhattan. There was, the beliefs were kind of like theosophical and spiritualist, I guess, plus some Unarius and other outer space stuff thrown in. And I can tell you that it's not fake. There are lots of different explanations for it, depending on what you choose to believe, but the phenomenon itself is not fake. And one of the times that I had an interaction, it proved itself in our reality. I was sitting and I got very trancy, as I used to do when one of these entities would be near. And the entity said, "Watch for it now." And outside, all the lights went out. There was a blackout in New York City,
Wow.
one of the major blackouts.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So
That's incredible.
that showed me that again, it has more to do with a reality beyond our own. Another time, I was asked to find a particular book, and I spent all this time looking for this book, and then I had a feeling to walk down a side street in Manhattan in the 70s, and there was a pristine copy of the book on some stairs, and nobody was around.
Wow.
So there too,
That's amazing.
that's a bit too much to attribute to accident or coincidence.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And what's for me anyway, and for me, without going into any detail during this session, I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to opening up my channels, because the ability is there for all of us. But as I have said so often, I know I'm speaking strictly for myself right now, but it's true for others. Sometimes our negativity or our personality traits work against us.
Very
But
true.
we need to I think we need to clear our spirits, clear our consciousness, and maintain, as Neville Goddard often said, maintain a spirit of expectation. Expect to be visited, expect to receive a message. I think that's also very important when we really work at mediumship. We can all do it. There's a medium within all of us. Most of your qualified mediums will tell us this. We can all be mediums, just like we're all psychic. It's just a matter of varying degrees. And if you keep your mind in a state of high vibration and expectation, and I think if we can do that, all things are possible. All things are possible. I think that's the key.
I think you're right, and I think all things are possible is a great way to end today's conversation. Michael, how can people find you and communicate with you and get a hold of your writings and tap into your ministry?
Okay, I have a collection of poetry that deals with the arcane, the mysterious, and a variety of other subjects. It's poetry and art. I'm very proud of it. It's called One Passion Beyond. And the poetry supports that title. A copy is available for $10. Either check or money order to Michael Del Russi, 135 Hazel Street, apartment 7E in Clifton, New Jersey. The zip is 07011. I know that my works of poetry will open up different levels, pathways of consciousness for all who may choose to go in that direction. So I think I'm very excited about the collection. And again, it's $10 a copy, and I think you'll enjoy it.
I know people will. I enjoyed it very greatly. Thank you, Michael, for everything. I enjoyed our conversation as always. I learned a lot from our conversation as always, and as always, you've left me with a lot to think about, and that I'm grateful for. Have a wonderful day. I wish you success in all your endeavors. And I had another idea, which I'll call you in a day or two.
All right. Thank you for everyone. Thank you, my friend, for giving us this opportunity to do all that we are able to do in terms of sharing wisdom, ideas, and concepts.
Hey, take care, my friend.
Have a good night, everyone.
You too.